morning and welcome to Morning Movie News, where obviously we're coming off of a horrific and tragic weekend. So while I have three news stories to discuss today and the winners to announce of the Dolby Atmos Terminator Genesis giveaway, I do want to just for a moment say that our thoughts are still with those of you who are in Paris, France in total, but also as one BTT viewer pointed out to me, I think rightfully so, our thoughts should also be with the people of Lebanon who suffered their own attacks in Beirut, also late last week and aren't getting really any attention. And then, of course, the people of Russia who also recently found themselves under attack with the bringing down of that plane. And I think it sets a bad precedent to weigh tragedy against tragedy. It's all tragic, and we're all under siege here. And I think that the only way that we will win is if we all band together. So my thoughts are with everyone, and I'm sure that is the same for all of you. So anyway, I am thinking about that. I didn't want anyone to think that, I've totally moved on, but I think it is important to move on, at least start to move on. So let's get, without further ado, let's get to today's episode. So tough to discuss. All right, so and now segue into the winners of those Dolby Atmos Blu-rays. No, seriously, everybody should be very proud of the entries that they tweeted me. A lot of good ones. It's, as always, hard to pick the winners, but I have the three. So third place, again, this is from our friends at Dolby Atmos. They do theatrical and home release sound design. They also are opening, they're starting to open their own, brand of theater across the country. You might go to your local multiplex and find a Dolby Atmos theater. And so they're working very hard to build a relationship as a brand with you directly. And part of that is through these cool giveaways. They give me 3 Blu-rays, and then I get to pick which of you to give them to. So these are the 3 that I've picked. Third place goes to Heather Kendall. And Heather said, at Grace Randolph, #Terminator Genesis is just like a cockroach. You can nuke the suckers, but somehow they always come back. Now in Dolby Atmos. I thought that was great. I thought that was really funny. So good job, Heather. And if you hear your name here, go to your Twitter account and you'll have a direct message from me on how to get your free Blu-ray. So Heather, third place. Second place goes to BTT viewer Michael Urban. And Michael said, at Grace Randolph, the franchise won't die because Skynet keeps sending back machines to pose as Hollywood producers. #Dolby Atmos, #Terminator 5. To be fair, a couple of you went the Hollywood route, which I always appreciate, of course, but I thought that Michael's, I thought his was the most clever. But a lot of you came very close there. Now, who did I pick as the number? Oh, so congrats to you, Michael, as well. So who did I pick as the number one tweet about why the Terminator franchise just won't die? Well, it comes from BTT viewer Sean McGuire. And Sean said, at Grace Randolph, #Dolby Atmos, #Terminator 5 is in the only series that makes its own fanfic/fan vids and somehow keeps making, then he put money emojis. And he said, it's fascinating. And I love to say things like it's fascinating. So that's very clever, Sean. And I like that he, he made the parallel to fan fiction and fan vids because I think there's a lot of truth to that. And it's amazing that, considering the talent that's supposed to be available in Hollywood, that's the quality of what they keep putting out for this franchise. But there's always something to love about a Terminator movie. It is a beloved franchise, and so I hope Sean, Michael, and Heather, you enjoy your Blu-rays. You definitely earn them. And again, go to your Twitter accounts and look for direct messages from me on how to receive them. So thank you, everybody, for entering, and thanks again to our friends at Dolby Atmos for making this giveaway possible. All right, so we have 3 very interesting stories today. Lots to discuss. The first actually is about Ronda Rousey, and I got a ton of tweets over the weekend with people wondering if Ronda Rousey could still be Captain Marvel, considering how horribly she lost to Holly Holm over the weekend. Now, for those of you who don't follow Ronda Rousey's UFC career, I've gotten into it because she's trying to move into Hollywood, and she also is making headlines. She's generating headlines. She's one of the few athletes, and certainly the only female athlete right now to generate headlines that I think they get mainstream coverage. By that I mean beyond the sports world. So Ronda has been dominating her fights. Like, she usually wins like in under a minute. And she has like this armbar specialty of hers where she basically gets you into this armbar grip and like threatens to like break or dislocate or cause significant damage to your arm if you don't tap out. And so it's caused her to win her matches in seconds, right? And she's been so popular, and she has so many fans and a lot of respect, not only from female sports fans, but male sports fans, for this dominance in her division. She's the champion in her weight division. But she's really been able to parlay that into a movie career. Now, she's had small roles, for instance, The Expendables 3, Entourage, and Furious 7. She was someone's henchwoman. But she's trying to get more work. Now, of course, she's remaking Roadhouse, the Patrick Swayze cult classic. Well, maybe perhaps even more than a cult classic, so there was a lot of coverage for that. She's starring in a bio about her life, kind of like the Eminem route. And she really wants to be Captain Marvel. And I've said before that I think she might make a great Captain Marvel if she can get a little better at acting. And she's working very hard at that. She has fantastic representation in Hollywood, and they really feel that she can be the next Dwayne Johnson, the female Dwayne Johnson. However, as I've said before, and I think many of you agree, Dwayne Johnson showed acting ability from day one. He was a good actor in the ring, and he was part of the WWF, and a lot of acting is necessary in that division. But he was very funny on SNL. He proved that he was really natural. He's a natural actor, and so I think Dwayne Johnson is a special case because he's one of those rare non-actors who actually has a lot of acting ability. So that's one of the reasons that he's transitioned so successfully. I think not since Arnold Schwarzenegger has a non-actor been able to get such a great career, in Hollywood. But Ronda wants to be next. But what happened? Why is this suddenly in question? Well, she fought Holly Holm in Australia, but they're both actually American fighters. And Holly Holm not only managed to stay alive in this fight, but she got in some serious blows to Ronda during the first round. But then in the second round, she actually delivered a knockout kick to Ronda's head. So I don't know if Ronda actually blacked out, but she fell down and she had trouble getting up. I think that happened twice actually in the fight, but it was considered a knockout in the second round, and now she's no longer the champion in her weight division, and she's been, I think, really embarrassed by Holly Holm, not only because she lost, but she really lost bad, and I think she got, everybody watched their hero to some degree get the crap beat out of her, right? And so I think that's definitely something that I think that tarnishes Ronda Rousey's image. It was bound to happen, maybe perhaps not so quickly, and also I think she's been spoiled a little bit by so easily dominating her division, right? Having really no competition. She finally found some, and we got a real fight, but what are the repercussions going to be to Ronda Rousey's career? Physically, she had to go to the hospital. She had to have her lip stitched up, and of course I think when you're knocked out you need to go to the hospital anyway just for a checkup. Now, will this affect her Captain Marvel prospects? I think it depends on how she bounces back from this. This obviously is a story that's just developing. I think that Ronda needs to prove that she's not going to be a sore loser. I think that's very important in the sports world. I think Holly Holm beat her fair and square. There wasn't any cheating going on, and I think Ronda just needs to acknowledge that. I think it's going to be hard for her because she's a big trash talker, but I think she just needs to be the bigger person here and challenge Holly again and train a little bit better. Maybe she took her eye off the ball with so much Hollywood prep that it allowed someone to come in here and do this to her. Who knows what the reason is? But anyway, I don't think it ruins Ronda's career. I think it gives it a little bit of a setback, but again, it's going to really depend on how she recovers. Everyone loves a comeback story. And also, I think that the Captain Marvel situation really is going to seriously rely on these other films that she's in. Now, they don't have to cast Captain Marvel for a little bit of time. They've really been dragging their feet. The movie is supposed to come out in 2019, but they don't have to shoot that film until like early 2018. They certainly don't have to cast until sometime maybe next year. Now, I don't know if Ronda Rousey has any movies really coming out before then, but I think that I'm not sure. We just really have no idea how Marvel is going to go with Captain Marvel. I think that's a difficult property for them as is, and I think that Ronda is a good match with it, and I think she brings a fan base to the table. So I think that Ronda is going to have to make some big moves, not only in recovering from this fight, but prove that she has a lot of purchase power through her ability to get social media coverage, to sell merchandise, to sell tickets, etc. So that's really the full front offensive she should be waging if she really wants that Captain Marvel role. So in short, I don't think Ronda Rousey's movie career is over. I think that she's just had a little bit of a hurdle, and I think it's a great opportunity for her to just further, make fans sympathize with her and to bring them closer. I mean, when people are down, the chips are down, they let their guard down, and I think it's a great opportunity to do some bonding with your fan base, and hopefully she sees that as well, and isn't just so upset that she got beaten up so badly. All right, so that's the first story of the day. Now, talking about getting beaten up, well, I don't think that anything bad happened to Said Taghmaoui, the actor Said Taghmaoui. I'm sure I mispronounced his name, but I'm sure that he got a verbal thrashing from Warner Brothers Publicity for posting a photo of him and Chris Pine on the set of Wonder Woman on Saturday morning, which he quickly took down. Warner Brothers isn't really so far going around taking this photo down, but obviously they don't want it up, and I think he realized that pretty fast. So he Facebooked two photos on Saturday morning. A picture of him and Chris Pine in costume, which was very revealing. Some of you said you didn't think it was that revealing a photo, but it's super revealing. But anyway, he also had the director's chairs for him, Chris, and Gal Gadot. And that was a nice Facebook picture. He should have just stopped there. Or just had a picture of them, not in costume. But no, he had him and Chris Pine in full getup, and it was clearly World War I. Now, that is a very big giveaway. Some people said, oh, so I saw Chris Pine's haircut, whatever. No, it's the World War I fatigues, because they had kind of made, Steve Trevor, Chris Pine, Steve Trevor was in military fatigues of the World War I era, and then Said, a French actor of Moroccan background, by the way, so some nice diversity there in the casting. He was like in a suit, World War I's era suit. But the reason it's such a giveaway is that there was some impression that Steve Trevor would be a modern day character who was helping, with the CIA or with Wonder Woman's a military contact today. But that is clearly not the case, unless maybe, although we're starting to get a little bit of information about the Wonder Woman mythology for the movie, which I'll be covering soon. But I don't know if there's a way for Chris Pine, maybe he goes to Themyscira and they slow down his aging. Maybe there's a way to do it. Maybe, there might be some way they can figure out to keep him around. But as everyone's saying, it looks like he really kind of seems to be the Agent Carter for Wonder Woman, right? And so that's like the lost love of the character, lost to the era of time, because this Wonder Woman lives for a very long time. It's not her mother who's fighting with man, and then Princess Diana takes over the mantle, et cetera, et cetera. There's lots of ways they've tried to handle the time passage, in the real world versus the comics. But it looks like here, the rumors are true that Wonder Woman will go to man's world during World War I, and then is still around today. Now, you might think Hippolyta, who I think a lot of us think is going to be Nicole Kidman at this point, would be the one. But since Steve Trevor is at the World War I setting, that's going to mean that Gal Gadot's character, her version of Wonder Woman, is World War I as well. So I think that's very, very telling. I think that the Agent Carter, though, having a male Agent Carter, is such a ripoff of the Captain America Peggy Carter dynamic that I don't think that Wonder Woman should start off ripping somebody else off, right? Especially because I think Haley Atwell has made that character so popular and so well liked enough that she got her own TV show, and people like seeing her around, and she's very much a part of the MCU at this point. So I think that creating a male version of that really robs Steve Trevor of the individuality that I wanted to see him finally get. I think Steve Trevor could be a great character. I think I think that the New 52 came close to realizing that, but they kind of blinked at the last minute, and now he's like not being utilized the way he should be. Maybe because of this decision for the movies, maybe that's what caused them to pull back on that, but I think that was a mistake. I liked having, in the New 52, basically they set Steve Trevor up as Wonder Woman's initial military government liaison, but they break up, so he's her ex, and then he goes and actually ends up working with Amanda Waller, which I thought was fantastic. A lot of us thought that Clint Eastwood's son, who's in Suicide Squad, would be playing Steve Trevor. Maybe he's playing a Steve Trevor descendant, so that's kind of like with Sharon Carter, who's of course now in the Captain America movies. I forget that actress's name. She's from Revenge. See, she's utilized so little in Captain America: Winter Soldier that just nobody paid attention to her at all. She's a good actress, though. She's likable as well. But that again would be an exact ripoff of the Captain America Peggy Carter dynamic, where you fall in love with the child or the relative of that person because you are timeless and they are not. Real Age of Adeline stuff, by the way. But Age of Adeline really underlined how creepy it was. So anyway, I guess in these situations, the original love is long dead, so they're not just standing there watching you make out with their descendant. It's just so horribly awkward. All right, so anyway, I don't know how Harrison Ford kept a straight face during that movie. So I think that Steve. I don't like the idea of. I'm very excited for Chris Pine to be in the DCCU. I think he's a wonderful actor. I think he's underestimated. I've always liked Chris Pine in everything that he's ever done. So I'm a little bit nervous that he'd be stuck to the ravages of time. But we'll see how it turns out. I don't want to count Wonder Woman out before it even begins, but I hope that it's not an Agent Carter, copycat situation, because I want Steve Trevor, as I said, to finally take his rightful place as an awesome character. I think the Wonder Woman supporting cast is quite poor, so I would like to see it finally become pretty good. All right, so that's the second story of the day, and I'm curious how you feel about that, from what's Sade posting on Facebook to the possible revelations about the Steve Trevor character there. Now, the final story of the day, I wasn't quite sure what I was going to talk about, but I saw two major, movie news places cover something over the weekend, and they're from such different parts of the movie news landscape that I thought it was interesting that they went here. The first was an article in the Hollywood Reporter saying, "Are you Star Wars'd out already? I am." And I was like, wow, Hollywood Reporter, bold words. And the reporter even said, "I've contributed to this, I feel bad, but at this point I'm just so sick of hearing about little minuscule details about Star Wars." And speaking of minuscule details about Star Wars, I have a Star Wars video coming up later today where I'm going to give my thoughts on all the recent story reveals out of Entertainment Weekly last week. But anyway, then I saw Collider do the same thing when talking about another TV spot that was released. It has like 4 seconds of new footage. And they too said, "We're sick and tired of looking at Star Wars stuff at this point. We're getting teased, and basically we're being asked to watch the same thing over and over again, for the promise of seconds of new footage." So in exchange for a couple seconds of new footage, it's like they're overexposing, I think largely Finn and Rey. Like, I'm kind of sick of Finn and Rey at this point, and they haven't even released the movie. So I'm really hoping, I'm starting to get nervous that Finn and Rey are the focal point of the whole movie, and that everybody else that we've kind of heard about on the side as characters, with maybe the exception of Luke Skywalker, but which better be one heck of a reveal at this point, are going to be really secondary, like super secondary characters. So I think it really is going to be the Finn and Rey story, and I hope that they didn't overexpose Finn and Rey prior to the film's release, because we haven't even gotten a lot of Kylo Ren. He'll probably be very much in the film as well, which is cool. I'm excited about Kylo Ren. Adam Driver is such a fantastic actor, and I feel bad he really hasn't gotten any publicity out of this movie yet. I hope it pays off. So I'm curious, so that's really what I wanted to put forward to you. How do you feel about the Star Wars campaign at this point? What do you think of how they've handled the ad campaign? I feel like it reached its frenzy with the final trailer and the tickets going on sale, but I think maybe that happened a little bit too early. Maybe that should have happened right after The Hunger Games was released, so that we were a little bit that's so close to the release date though. But still, I'm not quite sure. I think something about the timetable has not worked. I'm not quite sure. Maybe it's the lack of other movie news as well, because Disney's gone dark with all their Marvel stuff, and they have the Alice in Wonderland thing come out and the Jungle Book, but they've gone really dark to try and make sure everybody focuses on Star Wars. Even DC, we've had a little bit of stuff, but they've gone pretty dark. I mean, the Suicide Squad stuff was a breath of fresh air, but Fox isn't really even talking about Deadpool really right now. And Deadpool comes out like really soon. It comes out in February. So I'm just curious, what do you think? Do you think that the combination of the way Disney decided to handle this ad campaign and the way the rest of Hollywood decided to organize itself around it, not to have to deal with Star Wars, do you think that's created a perfect storm of awesomeness? Or do you think that it's turning into perhaps a dangerous storm for the film? And also, I'm curious, do you have your tickets yet? And if not, why not? All right, thank you so much for tuning in. That's today's morning movie news. Congratulations again to everyone who won, to Sean, Michael, and Heather for your Blu-rays. Thank you everybody for entering. A lot of great entries. Please write down below what you think of today's top 3 stories, and also let me know any questions that you might have, and you might just see it answered on tomorrow's episode. All right, thanks for watching. Bye.